Hi, this is Philip Roberts, blogging for my game design as cultural practice class at Georgia Tech, and this is my blog on Choice, Texas. Choice, Texas is an interactive fiction game based upon reproductive health in the state of Texas. While the specific stories and narratives of each character are fiction, the choices and situations the characters face are based upon the research of the creators. These are situations that women in the state of Texas face about their reproductive rights. For the visual design, there's not really much. There are character portraits, and that's it. The story is told through text and through a few select choices. Continuing, there's no sound, so there's not any sonic design to talk about. As far as the interactions, it's a straightforward web page with a few choices that branch off, which give you various experiences that you can read about. The narrative design is the most important piece, as this is, after all, the entire experience of this piece of interactive fiction. The choices you make are heavy, and I feel like the reason for this is that because they do matter in the sense that these are choices that women face, specifically in the state of Texas for this game, through certain degrees and situations throughout the United States and the world. I've played plenty of games with narrative structures before, and these can be successful to certain degrees or not successful as they try to affect the game world. But for these, we're talking about, after all, a game world. The narrative in Choice Texas matters because these choices are real. The names and people have changed, but these situations have happened and are based upon research. For example, you might play as Alex, a high schooler with a bright future who accidentally gets pregnant. She can't have the child and keep her future and scholarships. However, her parents are very conservative. There's also the social stigma of being pregnant in high school. There's the story of Jess, who has been trying to get pregnant. However, her doctor reveals that there's medical complications. She must decide to either abort or attempt medical procedures to save the pregnancy. What makes the narrative effective for all of these is that you can see how this affects characters throughout every aspect of their life. Each choice comes with consequences, and there's no necessarily right or wrong answer. While potentially being more fair to the player, there could be a few potential problems with this. While not making a strong stance on any one point, although if you read into the narrative, I do think it does make a couple of points. It might upset those who are trying to push for a specific point. Returning to analyze Choice Texas as a game, mechanically there's really not mechanics. There's picking options and that's it, using the mouse. My minor criticism is that this could have easily been made screen reader accessible, but unfortunately is not. Because there's not any real mechanics, there's not any difficulty associated with playing the game. However, there is an emotional difficulty. Playing through the 5 characters back to back on Choice Texas, and then trying to go through the different story branches, is hard and draining. The narrative is very hard and very sad. It's hard to talk about how engaging this is without talking about some of the goals of the game. This is a quote-unquote serious game. This is certainly something nobody would play for fun, although there could be a certain catharsis in sympathizing with the different stories, but even then I would find that somewhat difficult to support that critique. I think the researchers wanted to really engage some of the hardships and difficulties women face in Texas and draw attention to these problems. To that end, I think Choice Texas is a good educational piece. I'm not sure how effective it is as an activist piece, as it takes a long time to really kind of get the point across, I feel. If there was some sort of debriefing or call to action, that would help out a little more to that end. Relating this to our readings so far, I would say Choice Texas is probably not a game according, certainly to Bogos, but even Salem and Zimmerman. This is, by their admission, a piece of interactive fiction, and that comes with certain connotations. There's nothing here that couldn't have been done in a codex in a choose-your-own-adventure style. The benefit of a digital format is the ease of dissemination. In terms of our most recent secondary criticisms, I'm not sure where this would fall under, but mostly because this relates to feminism and reproductive rights, which we don't have readings for. You could argue that it's subversion of regular gameplay expectations, but this really sticks close to older formats of interactive fiction which have been well established. It doesn't do anything new with the format, so how can you subvert something if you're really following a specific recipe? It already feels a little weird referring to Copas to call something queering that's about women's reproductive rights. That's not to criticize Choice Texas, it just exists with a well-established genre of interactive fiction, which exists more as its own medium than what we would say are games.